Your morning jam hides more than you think. Behind labels like no added sugar are artificial sweeteners, extremely low fruit content, and legal tricks that are deliberately used to mislead consumers. As early as 2012, Hero and Zueg were fined a total of €300,000 by the Italian Competition Authority for misleading advertising. And yet, these very brands still end up in shopping carts millions of times every year. In this video, Shelf Truth exposes 7 jam brands that deceive you, and 2 that you can genuinely trust. By the end, you will also know how to recognize real jam in just a few seconds, without overthinking or confusion. This is not about fear. It is about clarity. Welcome to Shelf Truth. Hero Light promises almost no calories, no added sugar, and only 8 calories per serving. At first glance, it sounds perfect for anyone watching their weight. But the illusion collapses the moment you read the ingredient list. Alongside fruit, there are 7 additional ingredients. This is no longer jam. It is an industrial product. The fruit content sits at just 50%, while the rest is made up of sweeteners and additives. Maltitol is a sugar alcohol that is only partially absorbed by the body, which is why the label warns that excessive consumption may have a laxative effect. Translated plainly, eat too much of it, and you will spend your day in the bathroom. For a product marketed as healthy, that is a clear contradiction. Then there is sucralose, an artificial sweetener roughly 600 times sweeter than sugar. Recent studies suggest it can alter the gut microbiome, reducing beneficial bacteria while promoting harmful ones. Although the European Food Safety Authority has set acceptable intake limits, the long-term effects remain controversial. The biggest trick, however, lies in the portion size. Hero advertises 8 calories per 20-gram serving, which is less than a tablespoon, yet the single-serve packages sold contain 25 grams. Why the reduction on paper? Because 8 calories sounds psychologically better than 10. Pure marketing. These tactics are exactly why Hero was fined €200,000 in 2012, after regulators ruled that the no added sugar claim was printed so small that consumers could barely see it. Today the label has been adjusted, but the product itself has not changed. Many additives, little fruit, and a price of around €250 for 280 grams, nearly €9 per kilo, for a jar that is half chemistry. Zueg, 100% fruit sounds like pure natural goodness. The packaging shows bright, fresh strawberries and creates the impression of a product without tricks. The ingredient list appears clean at first glance, listing only 2 items: strawberries and concentrated grape juice. It looks honest, almost exemplary. But grape juice concentrate is nothing more than a combination of glucose and fructose. In other words, pure sugar. Under European law, products that add ingredients for their sweetening effect are not allowed to be marketed as having no added sugar. This is exactly the line Zueg crossed. When you add together the natural sugars from the fruit and the sugars from the grape juice concentrate, the total sugar content reaches roughly 35%. A classic jam usually sits between 45 and 55% sugar, so Zueg does reduce sugar slightly, but the product remains very sweet. The real trick lies in the phrase 100% fruit. This claim targets consumers who want to eat healthier, but grape juice concentrate is no longer real fruit. It is industrially processed sugar. Zueg has since changed the wording and now says, sugars from fruit, which is legally correct but still misleading in substance. In the light version, Zueg reduces calories by around 30% by lowering the fruit content from 64 to 55%. Less fruit means fewer nutrients and more dilution. The product looks better on paper, but it is not better in reality. Zueg is a traditional Italian company founded in 1890 in South Tyrol, and many generations grew up with these jams. But tradition does not justify deception. The price is around €350 for 330 grams, over €10 per kilo, for a product that is largely made of sugar and concentrate. Rigoni di Asiago Fior di Frutta presents itself as the ethical alternative to big corporations. Organic farming, the Asiago Plateau, nature and tradition. The packaging communicates purity and trust. Organic does, in fact, mean no synthetic pesticides and no chemical fertilizers, but organic does not automatically mean low sugar. Fior di Frutta uses apple juice concentrate as a sweetener. The company has adjusted the wording and now speaks of only fruit sugars, but apple juice concentrate is still sugar. The total sugar content sits at around 38.5%, higher than Zuegg, and nearly at the level of classic jams. Organic removes pesticides, not sugar. There is another subtle trick at play. The sweetening fruit is often apple, even when the jar says strawberry or apricot. Apple is cheap, naturally sweet, and technologically easy to process, which is why many manufacturers use it to cut costs. You buy strawberry jam and get strawberries sweetened with apple sugar. Fior di Frutta costs about €3 for 250 grams, roughly €12 per kilo, the highest price among industrial jams. You are paying for the organic seal, the green image, and the Asiago name. But the fruit does not come from the Asiago Mountains. It comes from organic supply chains across Europe. The name suggests regional authenticity, while the reality is a global industrial system like all the others. Hero Extra Strawberry belongs to the classic line and is different from Hero Light. Extra legally means at least 45% fruit, and Hero declares 50%. At first glance, that sounds acceptable. The ingredient list is short: strawberries, sugar, pectin, and concentrated lemon juice. 4 ingredients, clearly better than the light version. But the core problem remains sugar. It appears second on the list, which means it is the main ingredient after strawberries. In a 340-gram jar, there are roughly 170 grams of strawberries and about 150 grams of sugar, with the rest made up of gelling agents and lemon. You are buying almost as much sugar as fruit. The total sugar content reaches around 55%, more than half the jar. For a healthy breakfast, that is a disaster. There is also the issue of origin. Hero produces this product for the Italian market in Spain. The label reads, "Produced in Spain for Hero Italia," which means the fruit does not come from Italy. It comes from Spanish suppliers, is processed and packaged in Spain, and only the company headquarters are in Verona. Many consumers believe they are supporting Italian agriculture, but in reality they are financing a Spanish supply chain. The price is around €2 for 340 grams, just under €6 per kilo. At that price point, there are clearly better alternatives. Conad is a supermarket private label that presents itself as close to consumers and distinctly Italian. In reality, Conad does not produce its own jam. Production is outsourced to third-party manufacturers. The strawberry jam contains 45% fruit, exactly the legal minimum required for an extra jam. The ingredient list is short and formally correct: strawberries, sugar, pectin, and citric acid. On paper, nothing is wrong, but quality suffers. Private label products often use second-grade fruit, smaller strawberries, overripe batches, or visually imperfect produce that cannot be sold elsewhere. This is not unsafe, but it strongly affects flavor and texture. The sugar content sits at around 50%, which is standard for the industry, but still very high. The real issue is mediocrity. The taste is flat, the consistency is overly firm and gelatinous, and the color has an unnatural shine. Excess pectin creates a texture that feels more like plastic than fruit. The price is around €1.50 for 350 grams, just over €4 per kilo, the lowest price so far. But low price means low quality, cheap fruit, cheap sugar, and a highly industrialized process without selection or care. Zuegg Light is different from the 100% fruit line and is marketed as a reduced-calorie alternative. Zuegg claims 30% fewer calories, And under the law, that is enough to label a product as light. But how is this reduction achieved? Not through better ingredients, but through less fruit. The fruit content drops from 64 to 55%. At the same time, grape juice concentrate is still used, meaning sugar in a concentrated form, just in smaller quantities. The result is a more diluted jam with less fruit, less sugar, and more water. The texture becomes watery, and the flavor loses intensity. To compensate, Zuegg relies on flavorings. They are described as natural flavors, but they are still flavors. A good jam does not need flavorings. When fruit quality is high and the quantity is sufficient, flavor develops naturally. Zuegg Light clearly shows that fewer calories do not automatically mean higher quality or better health. Substance is removed and replaced with technology, while the price remains the same. Around €350 for 330 grams, identical to the regular version. You pay the same for a weaker product. Zuegg understands that the word light sells. Many consumers automatically equate fewer calories with healthier choices. But a diluted jam with added flavors is not healthier. It is simply poorer. Carrefour Bio Apricot Jam is the supermarket's organic private label. As with Conad, production is outsourced to external manufacturers. Organic means the fruit is grown without synthetic pesticides or chemical fertilizers. The ingredient list looks exemplary. Organic apricots, organic cane sugar, concentrated lemon juice, and pectin, all certified organic. But the real issue lies in the fruit content. It stands at just 45%, exactly the legal minimum. Organic does not automatically mean generous fruit content. Carrefour saves costs by using only the minimum amount of fruit and filling the rest with cane sugar. Cane sugar is more expensive than refined white sugar and less processed, but it is still sugar. The total sugar content is around 48%, similar to the other brands. Organic removes pesticides, not sugar. In terms of taste, the result is underwhelming. Organic apricots cost more, but when only 45% are used, the flavor remains weak. The price is around €2.20 for 350 grams, over €6 per kilo. You are paying for the organic label and the green image, but the quality does not justify the price. At this point, 7 brands have been exposed, but good jam truly does exist. Some producers prove that it can be done differently. The first safe choice is Agramontana Extra Apricot. The company was founded in 1972 in Borgo San Dalmazzo in Piedmont, and has grown from a small artisanal workshop into a recognized benchmark for quality. This extra jam contains 65% fruit, well above the legal minimum of 45%. The ingredient list is short and honest: apricots, sugar, and lemon juice. There are no added gelling agents, no flavorings, and no preservatives. The natural pectin comes entirely from the high fruit content. The sugar level sits at around 40%, lower than most industrial brands. The flavor is intense, with natural sweetness, balanced acidity, and a clean finish. The texture is soft and natural, not gelatinous. The fruit comes from Piedmont and from selected suppliers within Italy, offering real traceability. The price is around €450 for 350 grams, nearly €13 per kilo. It is not cheap, but you are buying a jar that is almost 2/3 real fruit, with a clean recipe and authentic taste. The second safe choice is Menz and Gasser Extra Strawberry, a South Tyrolean company founded in 1930 and now run by the third generation of the family. This extra jam contains 50% fruit. The ingredient list is clear: strawberries, sugar, pectin, and citric acid. 4 straightforward ingredients, no tricks. With strawberries, pectin is technically necessary, and citric acid ensures balance. The sugar content is around 45%. The key difference lies in the raw materials. Menz and Gasser uses high-quality strawberries from selected suppliers in Italy and across Europe. Processing preserves color, aroma, and fragrance. The result is a balanced flavor and a creamy, natural texture. The price is around 2.80 euros for 340 grams, just over 8 euros per kilo. In this category, it offers the best value for money, clearly outperforming all 7 previously mentioned brands while remaining affordable for many households. Rule number 1 is always read the ingredient list. If you see more than 5 ingredients, leave the jar on the shelf. Real jam consists of fruit, sugar, lemon, and possibly pectin. When sweeteners, flavorings, or preservatives appear, you are dealing with industrial chemistry. Rule number 2 is to check the fruit content. If it is below 50%, you are buying more sugar than fruit. Good jams start at 50% fruit, very good ones at 60% or more. Rule number 3 is to be skeptical of claims like no added sugar. In most cases, these hide fruit juice concentrates or artificial sweeteners. If you want less sugar, choose fruit spreads with 70% fruit instead. Rule number 4 is to look at the price. Below 6 euros per kilo, real quality is rarely possible. Fruit costs money, and careful processing costs money. Rule number 5 is to favor smaller, more transparent producers like Agromontana or Menz and Gasser, who control their supply chains and select fruit deliberately. Rule number 6 is to never trust marketing alone. Words like light, organic, or 100% fruit are meaningless if the ingredient list tells a different story. Always read beyond the packaging. Rule number 7 is to choose extra jam. By law, it contains more fruit and provides a better foundation for quality. Starting in 2026, new European Union regulations for jam will come into force. In the future, jams will be required to contain at least 45% fruit instead of the current 35%, and extra jams will need at least 50% fruit instead of 45%. The goal of this reform is to reduce sugar content and increase fruit content. On paper, this sounds like progress. In reality, these rules do not eliminate deception. Even with higher minimum thresholds, loopholes remain. Fruit juice concentrates can still be used, sweeteners will remain permitted, and marketing language can still be crafted to make products appear healthier than they truly are. Laws define minimum standards, but they do not guarantee quality. That is why reading labels, understanding ingredients, and making conscious choices will remain essential. Large brands invest millions every year in marketing. Companies like Hero, Rigoni, and others dominate supermarket shelves with colorful packaging, idyllic fruit imagery, and comforting promises. Behind this facade are often average products loaded with sugar, hidden sweeteners, and minimal fruit. This system works because many consumers do not read, they trust. People buy out of habit, brand loyalty, or the belief that a familiar name automatically means quality. Marketing replaces thinking, packaging replaces substance. As long as these products continue to sell, manufacturers have no incentive to change. The deception is not accidental. It is built into the business model. The solution is awareness. When you know what to look for, you protect yourself. Every purchase is a vote. When you buy clean jam made with real ingredients, honest producers survive. When you buy industrial chemical products, large corporations win. The market follows demand, not promises. Conscious shopping means taking responsibility, not only for your own health, but also for what will appear on shelves in the future. Quality does not happen by accident. It emerges when consumers demand it. Which of these brands surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This is where conscious shopping truly begins, when we question, compare, and exchange experiences. If you want to uncover more supermarket deceptions, subscribe to Shelf Truth. Together we expose what the industry would rather keep hidden.